Yes! Yes! I'm here! Oh, man. It feels so good to be back. And I apologize. I was not here last week. If you've been following me, you know I was not planning on doing a show Friday, but I was very vague as to why. Well, let me get everybody caught up here. And I'm aware I may not have as many viewers as I normally do, and that's okay. Listen to rebroadcast. Bottom line, I've been planning this for several weeks. I was going to be in Vegas last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 nights in Vegas. Thanks to Westgate Casino. Actually, thanks to the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. I was able to Westgate Casino from now to the end of the year gives me 2 free nights and $100 free play. So I was going to go to Vegas for several nights, and I was going to bring about $3,000. I was going to have a lot of fun. And the reason why I didn't say anything is the first time I went out to Vegas, a buddy of mine, a guy I went with, he's like, hey, me and a buddy went out to Vegas. He told all of his friends. He hangs out with some less than reputable people. And what happened was they broke into his house. They stole his food. They stole his shoes. And I don't hang out with people like that. So that's Alex. How's it going, brother? Man, I was kind of explaining why I wasn't going to do a show Friday is that I was going to be in Vegas. And I had a lot of stuff planned. I had to cancel the trip. I got sick. Long story short, I'm a firm believer that your mind and your body are connected. Like, for example, you watch football. That's what we're here for. How often do you see players in 10-degree weather not wearing sleeves? It's all up here. Well, the trip started to feel more of a chore. And my 9-to-5 job has some hey, look, I'm not going to bore you with all my things, but bottom line, here's the drill. I was just really sick. I'm about 60 to 70%, but I'm probably going to cut the show about an hour today. I'm still recovering, and I think that what's going to happen is about 45 minutes into it, my throat will start bothering me. It's already still not feeling great, but I got coffee. This is something called BCAA. It's branched chain amino acids. I take this at the gym. My boss was nice enough to let me work 410s, but because I'm working 410s, I got to go to the gym for about 10 whole minutes. This week's going to be a hectic week, man. Life is a gamble. Pete, what is up, brother? Yeah, I was very sick this week. I'm still recovering. Still recovering. Denver Gator, and you know what? I forgot to write down your picks, and I apologize because if I am correct, I know you had Denver. I don't remember the other ones, but if I'm correct, you got all your picks right, didn't you? Denver Gator messaged me. He's like, where the hell are you? And hit me up on Twitter and made some predictions. And I apologize because I threw my phone on the ground. Don't have it on me right now. He made some predictions. All of them are right. I think you're perfect. By the way, guys, the last 2 weeks, I have been on fire. I've been 5-1 the last 2 weeks. I told you I would get the hot streak going. I told you I would be the Hey, Alex, yeah, I have a hard time. Okay, yeah, you had Green Bay. I forgot about that. But I've been hot. I've been 5-1, and I already have action down this week. Normally, I talk about the games a little bit. I'm not going to do that this week. So I kind of want to do a mid-season report because one of the things I wanted to do is talk about my top 3 MVP candidates. And I also want to give a special shout out to 3 players who are not going to win the MVP that deserve some special consideration and that have a little bit to prove. I'm going to brag about myself a little bit because you guys have stuck with me when I've been doing bad. I'm going to talk about my picks last week. You guys know about Pittsburgh and New England, but 2 weeks ago, Denver, Kansas City. Thanks to some people on social media, they gave me a heads up that the weather was really not that bad in Denver. So I took the over at 45. The Chiefs scored 43. And then on Monday night, Chicago and the Rams, who have played each other, this will be the third straight game, third straight year they played each other, and they've both been low-scoring games. The over-under was 51. 51 to 49, I don't remember. I took the under, and I collected, so I went 3-1 2 weeks ago. Last week, I was following the weather report for the Raiders in Cleveland. Opened up at 53.5, which is a big number. I got 49.5, and my weather reports showed 20, 25-mile-an-hour winds with rain, possible snow, sleet, terrible conditions. Turns out to be it was like a 40-mile-an-hour wind. If you watch that game, one of the kickers, the wind blew. It was like a 30-something-yard field goal. The wind just knocked it around, and I knew I was going to collect. Like right after the first quarter, I was like, it's a win. And then you guys know I've been heavy on Seattle. Took Seattle at 3. Dropped down to 1.5. Now, I thought Jamal Adams was going to play. He was doubtful, game time decision. I figured he would play. Did not play. Wish I would have got 1.5, but Seattle really beat the shit out of the 49ers. Good for me. So I went 2-0. 2-0. James, yes. I apologize, dude. I don't get sick very often, but when I do, it's bad. And I'm still recovering, but I feel good. I got coffee and another drink here next. It's not alcoholic, I promise. James, I'm not going to rub it in. I've been hot 5-1. I would have took the Colts at 2.5. It went to 3, and I didn't like 3. So that's kind of unfortunate. I apologize, guys. I'm sitting here. You wish me welcome back, and then first thing I do is talk about how I would have took the Colts. Yeah. I. By the way, guys, I think there's I need to make like a video or do something. But yeah, I was in really bad shape. I was just completely bedridden last week. Had to cancel my Vegas trip. The hotel was free. I had to do 2 different airlines. I got a credit, but it might be money because you guys don't want to hear about my 9 to 5, but bottom line, the way my 9 to 5 job is going, I probably won't be able to get away to go to Vegas anytime soon. So, yeah, I heard about. By the way, Alex points out Packers tried to lowball the Texans on a Fuller trade. They wanted Fuller for a 4th rounder, wanted us to pay part of his salary. Texans wanted the 2nd. Nothing happened. Finally, a good decision. Yeah, I heard about that. I knew the Texans wanted a 1st or a 2nd, and the Packers would have. I think Fuller would have been a great addition to the Packers. I think the Packers, to be perfectly honest, should have pulled the trigger on this deal. But I think the Packers are really thinking to themselves that they're just going to kind of build up, which is not really. I think Packers are making a mistake. Here's the deal. Due to a lot of different things, I didn't have a chance to do the show prep that I wanted to do. I do want to talk about the MVP race. I'm going to give you my opinion. I'd love to hear from you guys. And then the only game I'm really going to break down is the 49ers in Green Bay because I like the over on this one. By the way, I got my bookie up. So if you do want to talk games, I can do that. But this is a good question. You know what, Gary? This is a great question. How would I use Avery Williamson against the Chiefs in the playoffs if you're Mike Tomlin? The Chiefs, believe it or not, and I'm going to start with the MVP race, but here's how I would use Tomlin is, believe it or not, what you want to do with a great offense is you want to make them one-dimensional, whether it's passing or running. The Chiefs this year have been running the ball a lot more than they have. So a guy like Williamson would only be a first, second down type of player. You would use him to stuff the run. And then you want to put the Chiefs in third and long situations because the Chiefs' weakness is their tackle situation, specifically Mitchell Schwartz, who's been a stalwart, just a stud on the right side. He's been out the last couple of weeks, and he wasn't playing great anyway. His play dipped a little bit. Now he's injured. And you're the Steelers. You have a great pass rush. So Williamson would be your kind of your pounder. Where Devin Bush, he would be a guy that could help, guard Kelsey. You could get a little creative with him. A guy like Williamson's actually a big boost for the Steelers. With the Steelers, you would basically want to you want to stuff the Chiefs' run, which I know sounds crazy. And what you want to do is take advantage of a pass rush, because here's how you beat Kansas City. Here's how you beat Kansas City. You put pressure on Mahomes with either 3 or 4, and there's only a handful of teams that can do this, and the Steelers are one of them. And then you go ahead and you drop 7 in the coverage. You basically put somebody deep, which Steelers can do. You double team Kelsey, and then what you want to do is have the Chiefs' third option beat you. And by the way, most teams can't do this. The Chargers were successful, but Tyreek Hill got behind the double team, still made a big play. Kelsey won a lot of double teams bracketed coverage because Kelsey's a Hall of Famer. But the Steelers could in theory do pretty well against Kansas City. But the problem is they have to find a way to put pressure with either 3 or 4 rushers and then keep coverage back. And the thing is with Williamson, he would have to be a guy that you would take out on third down. So that's how you would use him to stuff the runs. A long-winded discussion here. James, I'm going to admit, because I didn't have as much time to do as much show prep as I wanted to do, I didn't know about Stafford. I didn't know that about Stafford. And I told you, Lions fans, as much as I love you guys, I'm going to drink coffee before I say this. I've been telling you guys that you have a bad team and Patricia's going to be gone, but I love the foundation, and I really hope that Stafford stays as part of the foundation. But I think Patricia is going to be gone. But look at it this way. You're competitive in that division. And I think if you're a Lions fan, realistically, if you could say halfway through the season that you're competitive and you have a shot for the playoffs, are you really mad? Are you? I'm going to skip you. You guys are in better shape than I expected, and you actually should be happy, believe it or not. They're Cowboys are just a train wreck. And if you've been following me, I warned people that the Cowboys I didn't think they were going to be this bad, but I knew they weren't going to be a 10-11 win team. People are talking about me as a Super Bowl team. I tried telling people no. Denver Gator points out Ayuk and Williams out. I actually like the over in this game. The over is 50. The last I looked, Packers 5.5 point favorite. I actually like Green Bay to cover 5.5, but I like them to cover 5.5. But I would like the over. And the reason why is I think Green Bay is capable of putting up 30 or 40 on this beat up Niners team. But I think that what you're going to see is the Niners get cheap touchdown too. I really like the over on this game, but I have action placed on a different game. Alex says, how long do I think the undefeated streak with the Steelers holds out? I think they'll go far before losing. You know what? I did not have a chance to look at the Steelers' schedule. Let's take a look real fast. Let's just go through here, and I'll. Here's the thing: they're going to lose to Baltimore. Okay, when they play Baltimore again, Baltimore's going to beat them. Let's take a look next. Okay, next couple games. Cowboys, that's who will win. Bengals at home, I think is a win. At Jacksonville's a win. Home against Baltimore, that's going to be a loss, and that's on Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving's your answer, Alex. After that game, You have a Washington game at Bills, at Bengals, Colts, and Browns. Just off the top of my head, I'm going to say 12-4. I think Baltimore's still the best team in the AFC North. I really do. I think that that's going to be. I remember a couple of years ago when Kansas City and the Chargers both finished 12-4. I think that's what you're going to see with Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I think Baltimore still wins that division, and I think Pittsburgh's going to be anywhere between 11 and 13 win wild card team. And they're not a team that you want to play in the playoffs, but they're not the best team in the AFC. I would say they're third, even though they beat Baltimore. I think Baltimore's a better team, but Kansas City's the class of the AFC. I don't even think it's close. Alex says Patricia is staying. They're doing reasonably okay. Definitely not good. Going to do good enough to stay. Here's the deal, Alex. Now, the Lions shifted ownership. Martha Ford said at the beginning of the season that, or before, it was early. It was actually after the 2019 season that they were saying, hey, playoffs, got to go to the playoffs. Then I want to say the daughter took over ownership. So things have changed. But the expectations of the Lions this year was playoffs or Patricia's gone. And they're not going to get close to the playoffs. I think you're looking – I liked under 6.5, and then it went up to 7. A lot of people really were banking on the Lions being really good. I didn't see it. But with the expectations being playoffs, that's not going to happen. I think you're going to look at a 6, anywhere between a 5 and 7 win team. That's not good enough because the expectations were to go to the playoffs this year. That's why I think he's going to go. And I think that there's also going to be some really, really good candidates available that the Lions want to go ahead and pick up. But with the expectations being playoffs, I don't agree. What are the betting odds of Chase Daniels? I'll be honest, with all the show prep that I wasn't able to do, I actually didn't even know that. So I apologize because the thing is that due to my illness, I have action down on the election. I wasn't able to do as much show prep as I wanted to do. My plan was I wanted to talk a little bit about the MVP race and also brag about my 5-1. And I do have one game I already have action on. There is a game I have action on. Denver Gator asks, am I doing a Thanksgiving Day stream? Unfortunately, I have my normal 9-to-5 job's getting a little weird. Normally, I'm able to do a lot of show prep when I'm at work because I do an IT job. So I usually put in my headphones. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of sports radio. And over the next couple of weeks, that's been cut out completely. So I was expecting when I came back to work Tuesday to get caught up on a lot of football stuff. And now I'm not able to do it. Plus, I have to put in 10-hour days every day this week. So I'm a lot behind, but unfortunately, okay, long story short, Thanksgiving, sorry, I got derailed here. I might have to work my normal job on Thanksgiving. I might be at work, not able to even listen to football. I'm going to have football on the DVR. So unfortunately not. I've thought about doing play-by-play on a game just to see if I can do it. Let me tell you something. It's a lot harder than you think. It's a lot harder than you think. There's a channel I follow. I don't promote because they're not that good of a channel, but they do play-by-play, and it's really bad. But keep in mind, it makes you appreciate the play-by-play that you get on national TV, because I know that it's kind of popular to trash national commentators and stuff. But try doing it. It's a lot harder. I think one of these days I might do that. I'm thinking about doing like a live stream for the draft, because I got a chance to watch for the first time a lot of college football, and a lot of stuff I'm interested in with the draft. Gary says, do I think Daniel Jones showed improvement against the Bucs, although 2 turnovers cost us? Aaron said Jones cost them. He is a handful to coach against. The issue is that my voice is already starting to go. I'm sorry, guys. The problem with the Giants is the offensive line, and without Barkley, I think Daniel Jones is a great building block, but the expectations in 2021 with a Barkley and then what they're able to do in the offseason. A little side note, and this is something I thought about because Julius Peppers is playing some really good football. The Giants really won the OBJ trade. A lot of people thought that this was a really horrible trade for the Giants. I was one of the few people that said, are you sure? Because Peppers can play. You get a first-round pick, and without doing any other research, let's just say OBJ and Peppers is playing some damn good football. A lot of people forget how good Julius Peppers was. He was a defensive player at Michigan who was a Heisman candidate. He was a really good football player, and he's playing some damn good football. The Giants' defense is good. The offensive line, remember, the left tackle, I'm drawing a blank on his name, opted out late. So Andrew Thomas, who's supposed to be a starting right tackle, was going to be a starting left tackle. I thought if he was starting left tackle in 2021, that would have made sense. In starting left tackle in 2020, that was not a good move. And he's really struggled. I think that in a perfect world, the Giants get a starting left tackle, move Thomas back to the right side, and that offensive line's in good shape. And the Giants could be really good. Alex asks a great question. He says, I want to know how Tennessee lost to the Bengals. That decent defense couldn't even pressure. But here's the problem. That defense isn't decent. The defense is trash. The Tennessee Titans have a terrible defense. And the thing is with Clowney is he's a world-class athlete, but he's really not a good pass rusher. He's never had double digits in sacks. He was always just such a great athlete. You could put him on the field at South Carolina. He just makes plays. But he does. If you look at his repertoire, you know which word. Anyway, bottom line, he doesn't have any pass rush moves. He doesn't work on you watch his hand movement. He doesn't have it. But he's a guy that if Tennessee can sign him to a long-term deal, he can really work because they got a guy on the other side, Harold Landry. I got a massive man crush on Harold Landry. And then they also let go of Vic B. I think they let go of Vic Beasley, which kind of surprised me because I thought he would be a good fit. He got injured, and I thought, well, you can get him and Clowney. Maybe you can do something. No. But the defense is not good. And Lions talk here, they're just mediocre. No, you're right. But the expectations were playoffs, and I thought they were going to be actually worse, but Patricia's doing some good stuff there. They're switching more of his own defense. I liked their draft a lot. I just didn't like Okuda. When I liked their draft, I liked the players later in the draft, especially Swift, who was my number one running back. Now I look like an idiot because I like Swift a lot more than Carlos Edwards-Helaire, and Carlos Edwards-Helaire is playing like a Pro Bowl player. So yeah, I look bad there. Covering the Lions game. You know what? I think I might try to do that one of these days, do a game. But I am leaning towards doing something for the draft. Keep in mind, my normal 9-to-5 job's doing a lot of really creative, unusual things. So the next couple weeks going to be hard. But the plan is around Thanksgiving, I'm going to be working from home. And when I work from home, I can listen to I can do my job and listen to football. All right. I can do two things at once. Unfortunately, a lot of my coworkers cannot, so they took it away from everybody. And so it really hurts my show, but it's sacrifice. Draft day live. You know what? That might be something we have to do because I'm warning you guys right now. I'm going to do a lot. I'm going to do a shit ton of draft stuff. I'm really excited about doing some draft stuff. It was Solder. That's right. And you're right. He wasn't any good, but he sat out for COVID. So they took Andrew Thomas on the right side, put him on the left side, not prepared. Giants offensive line is not good. That is right. Texans, Lions, and that actually, to be honest, that's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a fun game. I bet Michigan wishes he was. You know what? I watched AJ. I don't know if you're a state or I watched Michigan and Michigan State, and one thing I was really surprised of is I can't remember the coach's name from Michigan State, but he came from Georgia. He brought a lot of SEC talent to East Lansing, which I didn't think that he could do. But if he can bring, if you're in Michigan, you want to recruit in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. But if you can get SEC talent to come up there, you're building something good. And that quarterback that Michigan has is a lot of fun. Reminds me of a player named Logan Thomas. He's an NFL tight end. The Michigan quarterback's going to be an NFL tight end, but he looks like a lot of fun. I was tempted to put action on Michigan over Illinois, or I'm sorry, Indiana. Indiana is undefeated, I think ranked 17th, but Michigan still, last I looked, they're a 3.5-point favorite. So anyway, sorry about that. Thanksgiving, man, Music City guy, man. I'm glad to hear from you, brother. I haven't even started yet. I haven't even started my MVP talk, but I wanted to hear what you think of my MVP candidates. You're still sold on the Giants picking Penny Swell in the top 5 if Gettleman stays. Gio's trip. Okay. By the way, I haven't had a chance to really do my draft evaluation, but one thing I do know is that people are all over the board on Sewell. Let's call him Sewell. If I'm mispronouncing the name, I apologize. Some people think he's an elite top 5 player. Other people think that he's a middle to late first round pick. If you think he's hands down the best left tackle in the draft, you got to take him day one starter if you think he's elite. If you don't, because you already got your quarterback, you spend big money on the best available left tackle in free agency, or you make a trade for one, and then you trade down and stockpile picks. And I think that could be what happens. Don't be surprised, even though Gettleman hasn't done this before. Don't be surprised that they use that pick on the LSU wide receiver Chase. Don't be surprised if that's the player. Go after another LSU wide receiver early. Don't be surprised because he's a guy who could go top 5. A lot of going to depend on the combine. Easier sentence. Yeah, Beasley really surprised me. Because I really thought he would excel in that 3-4 defense. And if you can't sign, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm already starting to, but Clowney. If you can't sign Clowney to a long-term deal, what you probably want to do is get the best outside linebacker you can in the first round, because that you got to fix that defense. You have such a good offense that defense is you gotta fix that. And you're right. And you're 100% right. You're 100% right. When the Titans coach, and I can't believe I'm sorry, I'm battling here, but when the Titans head coach was the Texans offensive coordinator, he was working with Clowney, and I thought that they had, Clowney and Watt, something really special. And I don't blame Clowney for wanting a lot of money, but yeah. He's a guy, Vrabel. I'm sorry. Thanks, guys. Vrabel, when Vrabel was coaching Clowney, that way, if Clowney stays in Tennessee, I think he's got a chance to really do something special. But he's chasing money, and I don't blame him. I mean, he's a good enough athlete. But the one thing that he needs to do is he needs to stop being an athlete and start being an actual football player. Watch his pass rush moves. He doesn't have any. He needs to learn that stuff. He really needs to learn that stuff because the talent's there. He just doesn't play like it. Jarrell Casey was one of my favorite players. He's banged. I think he's out actually for Denver. Didn't really pan out for Denver, but that's okay. Big win Big win. I'm going to talk about that game because that's my. I'm going to save it here. Logan Ryan's actually not playing terrible, but remember he's playing safety. The Titans need a lot of defensive help. I don't know if they're going to try to build through the draft. I think it's going to be a combination of draft and free agency, but it wouldn't surprise me if almost every player on the draft board ends up being a defensive player. Also wouldn't surprise me if they trade up into the draft and get some. I think they'll build through the secondary in the draft, and I think they'll try to add free agent pieces in that front seven. That would be my opinion. Go Green. Man, that was a great game. Michigan State really impressed me. That freshman receiver that's an NFL player. That's an NFL player. So I thought the Dolphins. Okay, Alex says I thought the Dolphins wouldn't look great with thinking about Fitz, but they looked great against a good Rams team. For a team that doesn't have great special teams, then they get 88-yard punt return touchdown. I think his name's Van Winkle. I watched him play at Wisconsin. Love this guy. Some reason they lasted the 5th round. I have no idea why, because I thought he was like a second, third round player. Really liked him out of Wisconsin. Long, athletic, picked up a fumble, went 77 yards for a touchdown. A lot of fluky stuff happened. If you're a Dolphins fan, enjoy the win. If you think you're a playoff team, I would say slow down because they're building for the future and they have a great foundation. But that was just kind of a weird fluky thing against the Rams, who they beat a bunch of AFC East teams. And then I don't know how good the Rams are. I was going to talk about this in my MVP thing, but I haven't got around to it because I've been enjoying the conversation. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, okay, here's the thing about Logan Thomas. He played quarterback at Virginia Tech, and I loved watching him play. He's 6'6", 240, big arm. If you watch the Michigan quarterback, he looked just like Logan Thomas did. The difference is that Logan Thomas played at Virginia Tech with a college quarterback, a college former defensive coordinator, college coach, not a guy who's really equipped to build NFL quarterbacks, even though Vic came from there also. So Tyrod Taylor, but Jim Harbaugh may be able to turn that kid around. But when I look at him, I look at him as if he stays a couple years in Ann Arbor, he could be a Heisman candidate. I think he's an NFL tight end. That Michigan quarterback looks like a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, Logan Thomas is a guy that I loved watching at Virginia Tech as a quarterback. But as I'm watching him, though, I'm thinking this is an NFL tight end. Yeah, James, he was better than I was expecting him to be. I'm sorry, man. I'm kind of falling apart here, guys. Man, hey, man, by the way, give me a thumbs up. Nothing else. Powering through the sickness. So, yeah, James, if you're talking about, I think you're talking about the Michigan State receiver, and I apologize. I'm battling through this. I'm not 100%. Didn't have as much ready to do. Oh, crap. My voice is going fast. And the coffee's only lukewarm at this point. But I'm Denver Gator. Of course, I'm picking the Broncos. Pick it to beat Atlanta, but way both teams have played. Do the Broncos get a few TDs so Atlanta will choke? And to be perfectly honest, with Denver and Atlanta, I think it's just going to be a fun game. I think Denver could still fire Fangio. I think that was a great win because I'm watching that, and I got money on Seattle and San Francisco, and then I got the Saints-Bears playing a really good game, and so the score's 24-3. I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm like, wow, Fangio's getting the accents, 24-10. I'm like, okay. And it's 24-17, and I'm like, there's no way the Chargers blows the game. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it here in a bit. Two bad weather games this weekend. Can be careful. And rainy and cold in the Charger and rainy, muddy game, Jack. Okay. Chargers games in LA. It's going to be rainy and cold in LA. And I in that stadium, an indoor stadium, I'm pretty sure it's in LA. So I don't think that's correct. But Jacksonville, Houston, I already have action placed, and so yeah, that was the guy I was talking. I loved him out of Wisconsin. Texans are going to let their next GM take over trades and signings. I'm good with that. Yeah, and they need not just a GM, but they also need some front office personnel in there, and that's something that I'm really going to dive into because it's not just a general manager. Who's he going to get to be like a director of college? I mean, they need a lot of people in that front office. Not just the GM. And I'm going to be paying close attention to that and kind of evaluating. And I'll give you a heads up on my opinion. But the number one name I think that may take over as general manager is Thomas Dimitrioff, the former GM of the Atlanta Falcons. And that would be, I think, a really good fit. And I think he would bring in a lot of former Patriots, which I know you don't want to hear because that's what they already did. But I think that would be a really good fit. That would be my number one guy off the top of my head. Again, we talked about this a little bit already. Todd Bowles, I'm sorry, I had a brain freeze. Todd Bowles would be the guy that I would want as my head coach, the defensive coordinator for Tampa Bay. Build up through defense and then have your superstar quarterback and a really good offensive mind. But we disagree. Dolphins would have put up 60 with Fitzmagic. I didn't have a chance to watch the game, but I remember watching it, and I remember thinking to myself, "There's going to be people thinking that Tua played this great game," and no, no. But yeah, I agree with you. If you're running a 3-4 defense, this is the guy you really want. This is a guy I think he's I don't think he's starting, but he's producing, and he's a damn good football player. I loved him coming out of Wisconsin. Did you agree with Chiefs signing Jones to an extension, or would you rather franchise tag them? No, I'm very happy they signed Jones. I actually did a video when they signed Frank Clark, or when they traded for Frank Clark, and I thought it was a huge mistake because I think they should have signed Chris Jones and then try to draft a defensive end. And it turned out to be I was wrong because they gave Frank Clark over $100 million. I'm like, Chris Jones is a better player. Chris Jones is a better player than Frank Clark, but Chris Jones and Frank Clark together is massive. And then what the Chiefs have been doing is using a hodgepodge on the other side. So the Chiefs I don't know how they did it. And because the salary cap may go down in 2021. If it does, the Chiefs are going to be in a lot of trouble because the salary cap's almost maxed. I mean, you have to understand they're paying 2 defensive linemen in 2021 over I think it's over $40 million. The Honey Badgers getting $14 million. All right, that's 3. I just touched 3 players, and I got what, 55 million with just 3 players. All right, I haven't even said Patrick Mahomes yet. I haven't even mentioned Mahomes yet, and I already got 3 players, and I got, what, 55 million tied up? Tyreek Hill has a big deal. Travis Kelce got an extension. Watkins makes a lot of money. He'd probably be gone next year. And so, but yeah. Can look at Ken Greco image. How fits the name? Yeah, I get that. You're a Chiefs fan. Would I trade for David Njoku? I love David Njoku. If you don't know his story, he was a high jump champion, an All-American high jump champion. High jumped over. He has I think it's a top 10 or top 5 ACC high jump champion record. He was an All-American high school high jump champion. He was a wide receiver who went down to the University of Miami. He was going to start, build that tradition of great wide receivers. And then he just grew too much. And they were like, hey, look, you're 6'4", about 240. yeah, you could play wide receiver, but if you play tight end, you're going to be a guaranteed first round pick. And that's exactly what happened. He left after his redshirt sophomore year. I mean, here's a guy who's basically a big wide receiver. The problem is that he doesn't have good hands. He doesn't run good routes, and he has no idea how to block. He's never been asked to do it. The talent is there, but I just mentioned with the Chiefs all this money that they're throwing away. I would love it because he has all the potential in the world. It just from a salary cap standpoint, I don't see how it would fit. If I'm a Chiefs fan, yes, I would love to have him. But the one thing about Njoku is that he might be the most athletically gifted tight end in the NFL. But the reason why nobody knows about him is because he can't catch a cold. He has to work on his hands. He doesn't know how to block. He doesn't know how to run routes. But he's a guy who I'm always going to follow because, I mean, it's really rare that you have an NFL tight end who can high jump 7-1. I mean, that's really impressive. But he's just not he's just not put all that talent together. Gut feeling Chargers beat the Raiders. I'm going to try to get to that, but I'm going to read all your comments here. Oh, Logan Thomas. Okay, that's the guy. I love this kid, but mainly because I just had a man crush on him watching him play at Virginia Tech as a quarterback. It was so much fun to watch. Chargers are a choke franchise along with Atlanta. They ain't beating the Raiders. I'm going to jump in right now. I got action on the game. That's my game. That's my pick. I got the Raiders. And I got 1.5 points. For some reason, the Chargers are favored. That's my game. I got the Raiders over the Chargers, and the reason why is that if you watch the Chargers players and the coaching staff after the loss, they look defeated. 4 straight games where they've been up by, I think it was like 20 points, and they've lost all 4. The Raiders are really turning the corner. I got the Raiders. I got 100 on it, a full betting unit, and I get 1.5 points. Why the Chargers are favored at home, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think they're having fans there, but if they do have fans there, it wouldn't surprise me if the Vegas Raiders have just as many fans as Chargers do. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But I don't think there's fans in that stadium yet. So, did you actually call 30-24? Wow. I do too, man. Hey, James, I do too, man. I'm tired of seeing former Pats in our system. We've had too many. Yeah, I get that, and I get how you wouldn't want Dimitroff, but you have to realize Dimitroff's been running the Falcons for about, I want to say 11 or 12 years. He's an experienced GM. He's probably the most experienced general manager you're going to find. And I think it would be a massive upgrade. I mean, there's probably several candidates, but yeah. I 100% where you get. Listen, as a Chiefs fan, we did the same thing. Remember, we brought in the Chiefs. Brought in Scott Pioli, who was the second in command he won executive of the year with the Patriots. He brought in a bunch of ex-Patriots. Remember, he brought in Matt Castle, who was Brady's backup, brought in like 3 or 4 players, brought in the same system, tried to bring in the Patriots culture, and it was awful. It didn't work. Romeo Crennel, he was Chiefs head coach. And then we brought in Andy Reid. So I get where you're coming from, but if you had to tell me, give me a name who's going to take over as general manager, Thomas Dimitroff would be number 1. Sorry about field. Do you think Pepper Johnson could up the Giants linebacker, especially? Oh, I forgot about Minka. Absolutely. Oh God. Oh man. You know what? I know James can get on board with this. Talking about old school linebackers, guys. If you don't remember Pepper Johnson, you probably can't appreciate him. Really good linebacker. And Minka Parsons. There's all sorts of hype on this kid, and that's why Even though I'm doing draft coverage, I don't do any picks until after the combine. And there's talk about Minka Parsons having, there's talk about him going top 5. There's a chance he could go to the Giants. I don't think that will happen, but it could. And his combine is going to be special. There's also a good chance he opts out and just answers questions and waits till pro day. As a draft fan, I hope he participates at the combine because I heard it could be just stupid. So, as a Broncos fan, I hate the Jones contract. I'm sorry, man. I'm fading fast, so I'm trying to. But am I going to sneeze? Am I not? All right. The Chris Jones contract. You should. you should because I remember the center drawing a blank on his name. He went to Carolina and actually you got the center from LSU. He's actually playing some really good ball. And then you got the kid from K-State. A buddy of mine, the interior of Denver's offense is working good, but you need to work on the tackles. I don't think Bowles is the answer. I'm sorry, guys. I'm fading fast, but we're gonna talk football as long as we can here. My coffee is only lukewarm. James, I knew that would get you, James. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Week 14 choke bowl. I'm not even going to look, but I think you're talking about Chiefs, Broncos, and I wouldn't count not Arrowhead, but there'll be a lot of Drew Lock. For those of you who don't know, Drew Lock's from the Kansas City area. Me and Drew Lock went to the same high school, different years. From a salary standpoint, could the Chiefs trade Kelsey to the Raiders for Gabe Jackson? Yes, but the Chiefs would never trade Kelsey to the Raiders, but it wouldn't surprise me. Remember they signed Kelsey to a 4-year extension this offseason. It wouldn't surprise me if Kelsey spends his last year or two outside of Kansas City, but this isn't going to happen anytime soon. But it wouldn't surprise me if 3 years from now. It wouldn't surprise me if 3 years from now if Kelsey has a different uniform. Unfortunately, my prior was supposed to say foul. Alex says Texans are going into Jacksonville. Same situation. They came into Houston, still gonna be a Texan victory. I would be shocked if the Texans lost this game, especially with Jacksonville. I don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. It was Minshew is down. I can't even think of who the candidates are. Raiders winning, in my opinion, as well. Yeah, I got 100 on the Raiders as a dog. I got 1.5 point dog against the Chargers, but the way the Chargers looked so dejected, and the Raiders are finding ways to win. That was a bad weather game in Cleveland that they went in there and won. And they didn't just win by like a fluke. They just beat up Cleveland. Now, I think that talent-wise, it's roughly the same, but I don't think the Chargers are into it. And even though I'm a fan of his, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm drawing a blank. Anthony Lynn. Okay, I'm sorry. Anthony Lynn. I'm a big Anthony Lynn fan. He's probably going to get fired. And what they're going to do is they're going to bring in another offensive mind to work with all that talent they have. They need a running back. And then they also need some help. And they also need to stay healthy, too. The Chargers need to stay. But I think the Chargers are falling apart. And I think the Raiders are going to be in the playoffs. So, Alex says Texans are going to trade a lot of early picks. This is a defense-heavy year. We need the the answer is no, because you don't have an early pick. You don't pick till the third round. And what you're probably going to do is you're probably going to try to trade some of your players to get draft picks. and then you're going to try to get in there. But you don't have any draft picks. The Miami Dolphins have all your picks, and the Dolphins, because they got their quarterback and they have a lot of good pieces, they're going to be very creative. I think the Dolphins are going to trade a lot of your picks. And, of course, this is Bill O'Brien. So Pepper Johnson. Oh, man. James, we need to have an we need to have like an old school time where we just talk about the old school players, man. Every time we get on this thing here. Chargers foul. Oh yes. That would be a choke bowl. Yeah, it is. Not for okay. Trade a lot for, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I could see them trading multiple players. It'll be first thing you need to do is get whoever you get involved as your GM, and then whoever you get as your coach. It'll really determine. What they may just do is just go ahead and try to put a system in play with your talent. That's why I think that if you got somebody like Todd Bowles who could come in, you don't change anything on your defense. You keep that same defensive personnel. Your defense will go way up. Then he brings in a young offensive mind who can work with Deshaun Watson, maybe a really good quarterbacks coach, maybe somebody he knows. And then you don't really have to change that much with the Texans. I think the Texans really, if you put the right coach into play, you don't really need to change that much of your personnel, and you could be competitive. I really believe that. They're starting the rookie Jake Luton. Okay, yeah, that was him and somebody else, but I would be shocked if Houston lost that game. Was the late Derek Thomas of the Chiefs best linebacker you ever saw? I think he was better. Actually, Gary, no. I used to say this, and Chiefs fans used to hate me about this, but I used to think Junior Seau was way better. I didn't even think it was a comparison. Now, when you talk pass rushers, I've never seen a better pass rusher than Derek Thomas, but I did a list, and I think it's still available. I did a list of top 10 Chiefs of all times, and I got a lot of hate because I had Derek Thomas at 8. And I'm did all time. Now, you have to realize something. Out of the Chiefs' all-time players, 3 of them, when the NFL did their top 100, 3 of the Chiefs defensive players made that list. Derek Thomas did not. Buck Buchanan, Willie Lanier, and Bobby Bell. And all 3 of these guys were easily better players than Derek Thomas. The thing is with Derek Thomas is he's the best pass rusher I've ever seen. That was all he could do. He was a liability against the run. He was non-existent against the pass. In the 93 AFC Championship game, he was actually benched. That was the biggest game in his pro career, and he was benched. Chiefs fans hate this, and you may hate me for saying this as well, but I always thought Derek Thomas was really overrated. He could rush the passer as well as anybody. He was a liability against run and non-existent in the pass. He could only do one thing, but he could do that one thing better than anybody. And the Chiefs really struggled with finding a way to use him because they went to he was like a 3-4, then he went to a 4-3. They tried to use him as defensive end. Denver Gator says Thomas was way more of a hybrid back then. In today's game, Derek Thomas would actually be better because they could get more creative with him. But back then it was kind of hard because the Chiefs tried using him as a defensive end where you could run against him. Then they tried putting him off the ball as a 4-3 linebacker. Well, great, but he can't do any of the things that you want a 4-3 linebacker to do. He can't cover. He can't really stop the run. He's good at that one thing. And I think teams today, the way teams are played, like with the nickel, he would be a down he would be used as a defensive end in like a standard nickel package. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really fading fast here, but as far as being a pure pass rusher, I've never seen anybody better. I was at the game where he had 7 sacks against Dave Craig, missed sack number 8, and then Craig threw a touchdown last play of the game. Weirdest thing I ever saw because Chiefs dominated that game, but Craig pulled out his ass. He had a game against the Raiders where he had 6 sacks. He could have had 10. They took him out in like middle of third quarters, 30-0. It's actually, that was the game that's actually Charles Woodson's very first game in the NFL. And I remember he guarded Andre Rison, and Rison torched him for 2 touchdowns. The second touchdown, he torched Charles Woodson on. Woodson was so confused. Woodson was doing this in the end zone. He had no – Rison did like 3 or 4 moves on the kid and just had him so confused. But Woodson ended up Little fun fact, Woodson's first and last game in his pro career was at Arrowhead Stadium. Both of them losses. But I encourage you to check out that list. I got a lot of hate about Derek Thomas. Best pass rusher I've ever seen. I always thought he was overrated. I always thought Junior Seau was a better player. Plain and simple. So a lot of hate. James wants to talk old school. Man, I need to do this. One of these days, just old school, nothing before 2000. Something like that. But Denver Gators on that. Yeah, we need to do that. Oh, man. Romanowski. Oh, dude, that dude was dirty. It's actually funny. The Chiefs had a really dirty he ended up being a Redskins defensive coordinator. I forgot where he went, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. But, oh, God. Oh, what was his name? Greg Minuski. Greg Minuski was a dirty player, too. Marty Schottenheimer loved the kid. Brian Bob. There's a little known fact. I remember as a joke, I got his book at the dollar store. One of the best books I ever read. And I hated the guy. Then I read his autobiography. Now I was a Brian Bosworth fan. Great book. Maybe become a Brian Bosworth fan. Shame that he was not a good. It's a shame that he's such a bust because he was such a good college player. But if you get a chance, if you can find it, read his autobiography. It's really good. Really good. Wow, yeah. Music City Guy, List of Top Chiefs was the first video. Yeah, I did a series, Top 10 Chiefs of All Time. This was, I think it was the middle of the 2019 season, so Mahomes is not on the list. I have to put Mahomes somewhere in the list. I might do that again sometime, but yeah. Did you think Derek Thomas was bad in coverage too for a long? Yes, he. Well, he never really was asked to be in coverage because he was such a good pass rusher. But I remember he had an interception late in the season, and it was like his only interception ever. And what it was off a deflected pass, and it was kind of a joke. They're like, "You finally got an interception," but he wasn't really used in coverage. See, in the 93 AFC Championship game, he was used as the defensive end. So what the Bills did is they ran right at Derek Thomas. They had to bench him. And that's why when people say, is Derek Thomas one of the greatest players of all time? I always say no, because the biggest game of his career, he was benched. He was a one-trick pony. But, man, he could rush the pass. How many players have a seven sack game and then a couple years later have a 6 sack game? And there's flyovers. If you don't know the story, his dad was killed in Vietnam. He never knew his dad, and his dad was a fighter pilot. So every time the Chiefs have a flyover, which is very rare. Now it's common, but back then when Derek Thomas played, it was rare. But every time they do a flyover, we didn't know about it until it actually happened. I remember we'd be like, "Oh, Derek Thomas is going to have a good game." And there was also a couple times with Derek Thomas, he did this, for the safety, and it happened. Watch, if you want a good game, watch the 49er or Chiefs 49ers when Joe Montana's the Chief. Derek Thomas I think had like 3 sacks, including the safety, just lit up Steve Young. I remember Steve Young was like, "Dude, what do you guys hate me for?" They beat the shit out of Steve Young that game. Steve Young won Super Bowl that year, so don't feel too bad for him. But I heard that the offensive coordinator for Carolina is a big candidate. He is a hot candidate. It's Tim Kelly. He's a hot candidate for all available coaching jobs. He will be a head coach. He was with the Saints, then he was with LSU. Yeah, he is going to be an NFL head coach. He is the hot name right now. So if you need a head coach, Tim Kelly's definitely the hot name. Him, Eric Bieniemy for the Chiefs. There's probably going to be one or two college coaches, just like Matt Rule has had success. Now, keep in mind the Panthers, and I think that keep in mind Panthers play Chiefs. If the Panthers continue to have some success, finish around 500, you'll probably see one or two college coaches become NFL head coaches. If it doesn't happen, Panthers end up, just going on big losing streak, then you probably won't see as much push. But Tim Kelly's the hot name right now. If you need a head coach, Tim Kelly's on that list right now. Have I read the Pat Tillman story? No, I haven't. And that's something I've been wanting to do. Obviously being, I don't talk about too much, but I'm ex-military. Grew up in the military. Well, my dad was a Vietnam vet. My granddad was in World War II. So, I mean, I wasn't a military brat. I grew up in a military-style home. One of the things I've been wanting to do. Love Pat Tillman's story. And by the way, forget giving up his life. Forget that. Forget it for a second. It was great when here's a guy who walked on Arizona State and he became I think it was Pac-10 at the time, Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year. That alone's a great story. A guy who doesn't have the athleticism goes into the NFL, becomes a good player. He was never a great player. He wasn't a superstar. He was a good player. He wasn't a superstar. And then gives it up to join the military. Great story. So, I need to do it. Alex says, after thinking about it, originally said Bieniemy was the best guy for Houston head coach, but after a while, I've been asking if it's him that's helping the Chiefs, the offense, or is it just Reed? It's really a combination. Now, keep in mind the last two Chiefs offensive coordinators to become head coaches have had success. Take a look at Doug Peterson. He won a Super Bowl in Philly. Chicago had double-digit losses consistently. Matt Nagy comes there, they go 12-4, and then they go 8-8, and he's doing a pretty good job there. Bears fans are going to complain, and there's some problems on the offense, but Matt Nagy was a guy, even as a quarterback coach, was a hot name. Matter of fact, the Chiefs quarterback coach, Mike Kafka, is going to be an NFL head coach maybe even next year. So Bieniemy and Mike Kafka are both names that could be NFL head coaches next year. I think Bieniemy will be. But as far as Houston, I'm going to stand by this. I really like Todd Bowles for that job. I really think that if you're the Houston Texans, you've gone after offensive guys. You had Gary Kubiak. All right. You had Bill O'Brien. Go after a defensive guy because your offense there's nothing wrong with your offense. It's that defense that you have all that money and all that investment, because you either have to blow that defense up or you find a guy who can come in and fix it. And Bowles brings a scheme that fits your personnel. I think that you bring in a guy like Bowles and have him hire his guy to run the offense, because Bowles will work on the defense. Okay, before the season starts, Golden Rooster, I'm going in order here, but no, I didn't know that, man. Hey, give me a thumbs up. You know what? I'm kind of dying here, so maybe give me a thumbs down because I'm trying to power. You know what? I get thumbs down from time to time, Golden Rooster, man, but I appreciate the love anyway, man. Give me a thumbs up, guys. Don't forget, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I'm going to go through all my comments, but I'm going to stand by this, Alex. I really think Todd Bowles will be the perfect guy, but it's going to depend. Jimmy, what is up, brother? I didn't touch base on this, man, but I've been red hot. I went 5-1. I was going to talk about my MVP list, but then we got on a rant here. And anyway, I have action on only one game this week. I got the Raiders +1.5. I love the Raiders this week. I love the fact that I think the Chargers look like a broken team. I think the Raiders are playing like a team that knows how to win. I think that the game, even though it's in LA, is not going to be a home field advantage for the Chargers. So I really like that. So it would have been really cool if one of those flyovers include. Yeah, you know what? Oh God, that would be. If I know you're probably not familiar with Kansas City, but Whiteman Air Force Base, where they have the stealth bomber, is about 45 minutes away from Arrowhead. So, once you get, in the air, I imagine it'd be like 10 feet. Being at Arrowhead when they do a flyover is really cool. I think they did some bombers once, which is really cool. The Arrowhead flyovers are cool. It is really cool when they do it. One of my favorite things. Jimmy is needing help with my survivor pick of the week. I'm thinking either Texans versus Jags or Pats versus Jets. I think both are solid. I would probably go with the Pats, but I think either one's a solid pick, to be honest with you. I know the line on the Pats was 7, and let's go to my bookie real fast. I have it up, but I don't even think that game's on the board, to be honest with you. You could also go with Carolina against Kansas City. Carolina at Kansas City. Kansas City is now a 10.5 point favorite. That would probably be my number one, to tell you the truth, would be taking Kansas City over the Panthers, but I'm a homer. So, that game's not the Texans Jags isn't on the board. Jets are a touchdown dog in that one. So, but if you need help and you got to pick, okay, never mind. I'm sorry. Jacksonville is a touchdown dog, but I would actually take Carolina or take Kansas City, which if you have to pick the winner, pick Kansas City. Kansas City's at home against Jacksonville. They're not going to lose that game. So take Kansas City. I just helped you. That's a win right there. I know playing Techno Bowl back in the day with either Taylor or Singletary. Oh, man, now you want to talk Techno Bowl? I remember, did anybody else ditch school to play Techno Bowl? Tillman. Did you hear about Joe Douglas trying to keep Gase? That guy needs to yeah. What it is, I think it's smoke. I think it's smoke. But I mean, I think the Jets are just getting ready to explode. I really thought that after the loss to Kansas City, I thought Gase was going to get fired after that game, but I think they're ready to just blow everything up. I think the Jets are just kind of keeping quiet, and I think the reason why is that I think they're going to hunt for a really big name as head coach, and I'm thinking it could be a college ranked guy. I think maybe they're trying to talk to either Saban, Dabo Sweeney, the guy who's the Oklahoma head coach who's rumored every year. But I think the Jets are motioning to do like a big explosion and bring in a big name because I think they're looking at going almost 0-16. The team looks bad. They're going to win a game. I think they're going to win 1 or 2 games. But I think they're looking at 2021 of saying, okay, we're going to have Trevor Lawrence. What's his name out of Baylor, the wide receiver who actually looked pretty good against Kansas City. It was like his first or second game, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. Really good player. Lincoln Riley, thanks Denver Gator. I think that they're looking to do something big, but they're just going to keep everything quiet for right now. This is what I was talking about. I got a dislike. It might, Gary, if you gave me a dislike for my hate against I don't blame you. And then, by the way, it's okay, man. But please give me a thumbs up if you don't like something. I have no problem with you expressing dislike. So, thanks, Rooster, man. I appreciate it. As a Chiefs fan, do I think the Broncos GM Elway makes the Broncos competitive? Yeah, it makes it a love because I love the fact that you have a rival. Elway used to screw over the Chiefs left and right, and I think it's cool. But I think the last couple of years he's done a pretty bad job as GM. But I like what he's doing I like how he's building an offense to mirror Kansas City. I will live and die by this. The Chiefs suckered him into taking the guy who ended up in Houston, got $72 million in Houston. Oh God, man. I know, Alex, you know who I'm talking about. A kid from Arizona State. He was like 6'7", couldn't play worth a shit. And the Chiefs conned Denver into drafting him in the first round. And I'm drawing a complete blank on the guy's name. I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. And he ended up going to the Houston Texans. And I remember Bill O'Brien's like, I didn't even know we got him. And the Chiefs brought him into they worked him out twice, and they told everybody, hey, we're going to take this kid. And Osweiler, yes. I will from now till the end of time tell you that the Chiefs knew that this guy wasn't any good, but they brought him in twice, and they let Denver think that he was worth a first-round pick, and he wasn't. And I think that draft pick really hurt the Denver Broncos, because if you remember, at the time, Denver won something like 10 straight against Kansas City. Peyton Manning was undefeated against Kansas City, except for his last season where he lost the game in Denver, where he set all the records. And then, anyway, trying to get back on track here. But bottom line, the Chiefs conned Denver into taking Osweiler, and it destroyed that franchise. And they're building it back because they got luck and they got some good pieces, but they have a defensive-minded head coach with a really powerful offense, which I don't think really mixes well together. That's why I think Fangio is going to be on the way out. Glad somebody else graduated from Techno Bowl. Golden Rooster coming out with some gold, man. What about the Stanford head coach as the Jets' next head coach? Gary, man, you're coming out with some gold too, man. He's been rumored as a head coach for a while. That would be a good name. The thing is, though, I think that they're really looking for I think they're looking for a different type of guy. That keep in mind with the success that Matt Rule's having in Carolina, more and more NFL teams are going to try to do the same thing. So it wouldn't surprise him if he gets a job. I'm not sure he wants to take the Jets job. I think he wants to take a job I don't know if he would take a job, because I don't know that he has a relationship with Trevor Lawrence. Because, here's a West Coast kid. You have a Southeastern kid. I don't think they really know each other. Now, if they have a relationship, then yeah. But I don't think they do. That's why I don't think that would work. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Stanford head coach, and I'm drawing a blank on his name too, ends up getting a job in the NFL due to the success Matt Rule has. So, yeah. Osweiler, yeah. I'm going to die on this hill. The Chiefs suckered Denver into drafting him. They brought him in. I'm going to tell you something. There are still Chiefs fans. There were still Chiefs fans that will tell me that, oh, no, Chiefs really liked him. The Chiefs, remember, they were really high on him. Bullshit. The Chiefs even, there was all sorts of rumors about this kid. Well, he's a different type of guy. And I'm doing air quotes, but that was a quote. He was a different, because he didn't have the mentality to be an NFL quarterback. The Chiefs knew it. And they suckered Denver into drafting him. I will live and die on that hill. I'm telling you this right now. The Chiefs had no interest in Osweiler. There's still Chiefs fans who will be like, no, the Chiefs would have took Osweiler. No. The Chiefs knew that this is a game within the game. This is where teams trick you. And the Chiefs suckered a John Elway into drafting this kid. Because if the Chiefs didn't show any interest, then Denver would have kept building this dynamic offense and great defense around Denver. And what Elway did was actually really brilliant because he had this really great offense. They went to a Super Bowl, lost 43-8. So then he said, okay, well, let's build up this defense while I got this good quarterback, and he was able to do that. Really smart moves. Really smart moves. Then the Chiefs tricked him into drafting Osweiler, and the franchise fell apart. Because if you draft the wrong guy, here's the thing. If you take a swing and a miss at a quarterback, it is so hard to overcome that. The Titans lucked out because they got Tannehill. But what would you do if you didn't have Tannehill? You'd have Mariota. It's really hard to overcome when you draft a quarterback in the first round and it's a dud. Is really difficult for a team. That's why it's really what they did with Tannehill was really brilliant. So, yeah, the Texans sent Osweiler to the you remember that's how bad he was. They sent him to the Browns and they were still going to pay him like $16 million a year. He was. Oh man, you man, Golden Rooster, you're laying down office. I was just thinking about it today. All right, let's throw out some office trivia. I'm gonna give you the best office trivia of all time. There's 3 TV shows, all right, that use Sabre printers. One's The Office. Second one's Parks and Rec. You will never guess the third one. The third show that uses a Sabre printer. You will never guess it in a million years. It's not comedy. And I joked around. That show has the real Scranton Strangler in it. You'll never guess what show it is. I'll tell you about it later here. I'll give you the answer later. You'll never guess it in a million years. Yeah. Remember, and it was funny. Some media guy told Bill O'Brien, the GM and Bill O'Brien were so disconnected. The GM made the move. Bill O'Brien didn't know about it. So yeah. Yeah, it was, I'm telling you, I'm telling you this is an absolute fact. The Chiefs had no interest in the guy. The Chiefs knew he was going to be a dud, and the Chiefs conned Denver into taking him. Yeah. That's actually a really good point. And I actually think that would be interesting. I actually think that there's a chance. I don't think that anybody in the SEC, though, would really want to go to New York. But Ed Oregon, he actually was in at USC. If I was going to say if he was going to go to any team, I think the team that he would want to go to would be the Chargers. Which I think the Chargers would be up. But I think Ed really wants to stay at LSU. I think he's got a good thing going there at LSU. But if he does leave, I think the team he would go to would be the Chargers. I have a hard time believing a guy who's in SEC would really find New York appealing. But I think New York's planning on doing something big, and I think they want a big name. And I don't know if Ed Oregon would be the right fit. I would not be surprised if he says, hey, let me see what I can do in the pros. But I think he's going to stay at LSU. But it wouldn't be I wouldn't be surprised if a big name from the SEC goes to Atlanta. Ed Oregon to Atlanta would make more sense than the Jets to me. Denver says, I wish good old Jerry Jones would take Lynch off our hands. Maybe Dak would be a brick or quarterback. Well, I think you guys really got a gem in Drew Lock, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. Dallas does this offseason. I think Dak Prescott, if I'm Dak Prescott, I'm almost thinking, hey, this might not be a bad idea from him to move. Personally, right now, if I'd say where's Dak Prescott going, I think the team would be Chicago. This whole offseason is going to be really, really interesting. So we'd be the Jets without Tanny. This team would have been together. No, you know what? You're right with Marcus Mariota. If he was still there, you'd probably have a 4 to 6 win team. And Tannehill has done a really good job. And you know what? I'm starting to fade here, so I'm not going to get. You know what? I'm going to do it right now. And I think you're right. I think Edgeron, he's a guy that is going to really be happy down south. I could see him taking over the Falcons, but I'd have a hard time saying New York. Saban has been rumored in the past as a New York coach. He is from the South. Just Saban's an exception because Saban coached in New York and he also coached in Cleveland. And Saban's a guy who I've been thinking the last couple of years wants to come back to the NFL. And the reason why I say it is because he's done everything that you could do in the college ranks. I mean, bottom line, if he doesn't win a national championship, he had a bad year. The pressure is enormous. And here's the thing, Saban can go to the NFL for the right franchise. And I think Atlanta would be better, but Saban's one of those guys that, hey, he could take Trevor Lawrence. He would have to have a lot of player personnel, but I think Saban is interested in the NFL. I know nothing about. I've never talked to Nick Saban. I have a feeling that he's a guy that would be interested in New York. Ed Oregon and Dabo Swinney's the Clemson coach. I don't think would be interested in New York, but Nick Saban would be. But Nick Saban, as Denver Gator coaches here, coached at Michigan State, then LSU. Saban could coach anywhere, but he took Alabama because it was a big football franchise, it was a football factory. It offered him a ton of money. If you remember when they signed Saban, it was to this enormous contract that like doubled almost every other contract. And I'm kind of going on a rant here, and I want to touch base on this here before I get off of here. But Drew Lock is going to be a good. Yeah, I knew about Drew Lock when he was a junior in high school, and there was talk about him going to MU, which was a little disappointing for Kansas Jayhawk fans because I understand you're in Missouri, you're thinking MU, but Kansas is almost half the distance. Lawrence, Kansas is about an hour away from Lee Summit, where Columbia, Missouri is about 2 hours away. And it was funny because KU, for some reason or another, cannot recruit in football, but they can get every single. But it was kind of funny because there's all these players in the Kansas City area that Kansas football should get, and they don't. Anyway, I kind of went on a weird rant there. So, but yeah. All right. I'm going to touch base on this before I get off of here. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm starting to fade here. I want to talk about my top 3 MVPs. And I want to talk about 3 players that deserve MVP recognition that will not win. Okay. Number 1 player on my list of 3, he would be in 3rd place, and it's Aaron Donald. I think Aaron Donald is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. 9 sacks in 8 games. But it's more than the statistics. He's just a wrecking force. He's the best defensive player in football. There's only been 2 players in the history of the National Football League to win NFL MVP as a defensive player. And the reason why Aaron Donald won't win is because he's part of a Rams team that's just okay. He's just okay. Gary points out here, speaking of Kansas college football, check out. If you're not aware, oh God, what I just had a big brain freeze. The Kansas Jayhawks head coach, he was from LSU, a world-class recruiter, is bringing in a lot of good players. I'm sorry, you said Kansas State, but he's bringing in a lot of good players, and Kansas State has some good players too. No, you're 100% correct. I saw an error on my part. I deserve a thumbs down. I deserve a second thumbs down. Well, I haven't had a chance to watch K-State yet this year. And it's something I've been meaning to, because K-State has some talent and KU is doing a really good job in recruiting, but they're a team next year that could be surprisingly good. I'm going to check out K-State here, Gary. I just haven't had a chance. Texas college football is disappointing. We thought we were going to be great. I will say this. I did watch Texas and Oklahoma State, and Texas has some really fun players. They have a defensive lineman, Assai, A-S-S-A-I. I think he's going to be a first-round pick. He's from Nigeria, and I love his game. They also have a freshman running back from Arizona who reminds me a lot, and in a good way, of Ricky Williams. Reminds me a lot of Ricky Williams. I watched Ricky Williams as a true freshman, and Ricky Williams as a college football player is one of my favorite college running backs. Reminds me a lot of Ricky Williams. Not quite the talent, but I mean, here's a guy who's got you can tell. Texas uses, I think, 3 or 4 running backs, and I think he's number 2 or 3 on the rotation, but he's easily the most talented. He could be a Heisman candidate. I'm drawing. I don't know his name off the top of my head. Number 5, Texas freshman running back, really good player. And this Assai kid is he's going to be a first round pick. Texas has a lot of talent, but they're even though they did beat Oklahoma State, which was 6-0. They'll be ranked. They're just not going to be top 10, unfortunately. Denver Gator, you took the words right out of my mouth. There's too many offensive guys. Name the guy from Nigeria, that Assai guy, A-S-S-A-I, the Texas defensive lineman. He's going to be a first rounder. I love the way he played. Just high motor. I think he's going to just look awesome in the combine. I think he's going to do a great job. But yeah. He's from Nigeria. They talked about the whole story. This first time I watched that game after I watched Michigan State. So if you haven't had a chance to watch him yet, really good player. Really good player. Texas has some athletes. They always do, but they've kind of underperformed this year. So sorry, I'm fading, guys. I'm putting a unit on Florida to beat Georgia. Ooh. Wow. Wow, man. Ooh, God, man, I'm pulling for you, Denver Gator. I'm pulling for you, but I don't know if I would do that, man. I'd love to draft him, Dolphins. I haven't had a chance to watch Parsons that much, but Assai kid really impressed me. You're getting, okay, Denver Gator, you're getting 3.5, right? You're taking the points. You're not taking the money line. Oh man, I'm pulling for you, brother. I am pulling for you, but I don't know, man. I don't know. But and those of you who don't know, Georgia and Florida, they call it the world's biggest cocktail party. They play it in Jacksonville. It's a good game. I just think Georgia's got a really solid team. I haven't had a chance to watch too much of Georgia or Florida, but I'm pulling for you. From what I've heard, Georgia's solid, though. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm fading fast. I do want to touch base on this, but I love Aaron Donald. I love his game. Deserves recognition. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year, but he's not going to be NFL MVP. But here's a guy, 9 sacks through 8 games, just a game changer. I really think that if the Rams were a 12-4 team, a 13-3 team, he might get a little more consideration. But the fact that the Rams are just a mediocre team that may or may not make the playoffs, a guy who may have 20 sacks deserves a lot of recognition. He may get a vote or two, but yeah. Do I think Assai comes out? Absolutely, Gary. I think he's going to be a first-round pick, and I think he's going to come out. If I remember right, I want to say he's a junior. I could be mistaken. This was the first time I saw him play at all. I didn't even know about him till Saturday, and I was like, that's a first round pick. When you see a player play like that and look like that, and has the backstory and the effort, and he looked just from what I've seen, he looks like he's going to have a good combine. Then yeah, he could be one of those guys who comes out and maybe slides in the draft and goes early second. But yeah, I think he's going to come out, and I think he's going to go first round. If you had to give me it right now, I'd say he would probably go late first round, but it'll depend on his combine. I mean, I think when he talks in interviews, his stock will continue to skyrocket, but I think he's going to have a really, really good combine. Golden Rooster says, not sure if it was a rumor, but didn't Joe Douglas say he wanted? Yeah, and here's the deal. I think the Jets are kind of posturing at this point because I think they're going to try to get a really big name. And somebody mentioned Saban. I think they're going to try to do something like that. I think that they're going to try to get a big name head coach who could have player personnel. Somebody, I mean, obviously he's not available, but somebody like Andy Reid or I think Nick Saban's also a possibility. I think there's a lot of things in play for the Jets, but I think that they're planning on making some big. I think they want to sign a big name. Ossie, a top 5 pick for the Giants. I don't think he's going to go that high, but I mean, if he just destroys the combine, then anything's possible. I think he's a guy who's going to end up in the late first round. That was kind of the ballpark I have, because I think you're going to see a lot of quarterbacks. I think you're going to see some skill line position. Somebody put in Pennell Powell or Sal, the Oregon left tackle. Some people think he could go as high as 2. We're gonna talk a lot about draft stuff. So right now I don't know, but this was the first time I saw him. I'm like, that's a first round pick. Yeah, and I really, Alex, I 100% agree with you. Alex says, can the Jets finally blow up already? It's just yeah, he is. I think the Jets are going to blow up and hire. I think they really want to hire a big name, and that's why I kind of feel like they're not doing anything, because I think that they're kind of putting some feelers out for a big name. No, Golden Rooster, you're right. I think that they will win a game. They'll win one. I'll see to the Cowboys. Or do I think the Cowboys end up with a worse record than the Giants? I'll see. Well, I think that Dallas will hire a new defensive coordinator. And I think who they get will determine. I think Dallas could make some moves, but I don't know if Ossie really fits. I mean, it depends, because they got Alden Smith, they got Randy Gregory, they got oh God, number 90. Sorry guys, I'm sorry guys, I'm fading fast here. My coffee's cold now. But I think the Cowboys are going to make a lot of all-season moves, but I think it'd be a good fit. I like when you get Texas kids that go to Texas schools. I think it's kind of cool. I feel that's a good one. CJ Mosley signed big bucks, hasn't done anything with his injury, COVID act, big bucks. Yeah, CJ Mosley. I don't blame CJ Mosley for taking the money, and he's a guy that Baltimore really missed. Baltimore really missed that guy. I think if CJ Mosley was with Baltimore, they definitely beat Tennessee and are in a lot better position to maybe beat Kansas City and win the Super Bowl last year. He would really help this team. Remember, they used a first and a third round pick on the inside linebackers in this year's draft to try to replace the hole Mosley left. Mosley was a really good player, and then he sat out, and that really hurt. And here's another thing: he's a 3-4 linebacker. He's not a 4-3 guy. I think part of him sat out because he knew that, hey, look, there's going to be a new coaching staff, maybe somebody who can actually use him correctly. So, sorry guys, I'm thinking about how the quarterback's initials were B. Oh god, I love the trash talk with Dallas, man. I love it. And Alex, it is brilliant. All right. Second player who I have who will not win MVP, but definitely deserves some consideration is DK Metcalf. I personally think DK Metcalf is the best receiver in the NFL, and I'm not insulting Julio Jones at all, who I think is also absolutely amazing. But DK Metcalf is just doing things I haven't seen in a long time. I mean, just a freak in nature who's just getting better and better and better. Currently 36 catches, 680 yards, and 7 touchdowns for the 6-1 Seattle Seahawks, who I think are the best team in the NFC, but with a bad defense, it's hard to say. If you look at the numbers, he's on pace for 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns. It's really rare to have a wide receiver win NFL MVP, but here's the thing is that he oh man, I'm sorry guys, I'm really starting to fade here. His teammate on the other side, I'm just drawing a complete blank on his name's also a really good receiver. So he has a guy that takes pressure off of him. And I'm drawing a complete blank. His dad played for the Chiefs. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, but bottom line, he's having a great season and his production can still go up. With the defense being as bad as they are, his stats could still be better. I mean, let me ask you something. Let's say DK Metcalf gets 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. So, Alex says Watson deserves some type of recognition for MVPs. It's only happened once where a quarterback of a losing team got an MVP award, and that was Archie Manning. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in football, but I don't think he deserves MVP recognition. If you're going to say give somebody MVP recognition, it would be Matt Ryan, who leading the league in passing yards. He's on pace for another 5,000 yard season. It's just that team's defense is so bad. But Watson is a great quarterback. I have to disagree with the MVP recognition, but again, this is why I think you bring in a defensive-minded head coaches because you got such. Deshaun Watson's great. You have your franchise quarterback. You just got to fix the rest of the team surrounding him. I honestly thought Dallas was going to be stacked on offense with Cooper and their first pick and Elliott good all line. Not the case. There was no Tyler Lockett. That's right. Yeah, Tyler Lockett. No, Golden Rooster, you're right. I knew the offense was going to be good. It's just the defense, you're going polar opposite with the defensive scheme. And the one thing about McCarthy's scheme is that it's something that takes time. The back shoulder throws, the routes, the everything. It's just something that it takes repetition. It's not something you can learn in a classroom. The back shoulder throws, you got to get on the field, and without the OTAs and the mini camps and the preseason, they weren't able to do that. So you have a good point, but I agree with that. It's just I knew defense was going to be trash. That's why I thought Dallas would be like an 8-8 team. And they still could be 8-8 in theory, but right now they just look terrible. But that's the thing about DK Metcalf is you got Tyler Lockett on the other side, who's a really good receiver. You have a bad defense, so he's going to put up great numbers, but I'll discuss here in a little bit why he's not going to win MVP. The next guy I want to talk about who definitely deserves MVP recognition but will not win it, probably the best of the bunch, is Alvin Kamara, who's having one of the all-time great seasons for the 5-2 Saints. Currently 87 carries, 431 yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground. But what's really more impressive is 55 receptions for 556 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. I mean, he's on pace for a 1,000-yard rushing season. And then he also could have 1,000 yards rushing. He's currently just under that pace, but currently over 1,000. No, just under 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns through 7 games. The season that he's having cannot be overlooked. He's not going to win MVP, but he's having such a great season. So when you talk about MVPs, is Kamara going to win? No. Does he deserve some recognition for having a great season? Yes. And Golden Rooster, Kuechly will probably – you're talking Luke Kuechly, the Carolina linebacker? No, Luke Kuechly, the Carolina linebacker, is not going to come back. He retired. I think it was a concussion issue. I don't think he's going to. But you were right. Alden Smith came back after like 4 years. Remember Randy Gregory, another talented guy. And then Alex says, I love how Dallas had a great draft, had the most Pro Bowlers in any team, then the injury bug hit. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Yeah, they have no depth. And the thing is that I was not a fan of Mike McCarthy. I didn't think it was really a good fit, to tell you the truth. I didn't think it was a massive upgrade. But I also think that next year this team could be good. But I knew this year they weren't going to be any good. So let me give you my top 3 MVP candidates in order. So I'm going to start with bottom. Number 3 is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, 161 carries, 775 yards, 8 touchdowns for a 5-2 Tennessee Titans team. Here's the thing, though, when you look at the Tennessee Titans, the next 4 weeks is really going to be a big deal because you're going to play Chicago with a really tough defense. You're going to play the Colts twice with a really good defense at Baltimore. Those next 4 weeks are huge because with the loss at Cincinnati, you got to put yourself in good shape. You got to put yourself in good shape. If he has 500 yards in the next 4 weeks, which I didn't do the math, but his last 4 games, 57, 212, 75, and 112. Just off the top of my head, that's about 450. Am I doing that right? Yeah, 324. Yeah, it's about 450. If he goes for 450 against Chicago, the Colts twice, in Baltimore, that would put him at about 1,200 yards. It would be, more or less 1,200 yards. And then his next 5 opponents are going to be Cleveland, Jacksonville, Detroit, and then 2 road games against Green Bay and Houston. Remember, he had that 200. He had those 200-yard games in the playoffs and then 200 yards in the end of the season. Those last 5 games, he could have about 700 yards, which put him at $2,000. A running back runs for 2,000 yards, and if he stays healthy, he could do that. And that's the thing. The next 4 games are huge, but if Derrick Henry has 4 big games, they even go 2-2, he's an NFL MVP. He's the best running back in football by a large margin. The only thing is, though, can he stay healthy and can he keep the pace up? Golden Rooster says the Cowboys are so thin at quarterback. They're like, who in this locker room has played QB? They are. And this is, you're 100% right, Alex, is that the Cowboys are thin in every position. They barely have any good backups and biting them in the rear end. That's why the Cowboys have always struggled since Jimmy Johnson left. Jimmy Johnson built a great team. He had good backups where Jerry Jones wants to have stars and nobody's behind him. But when the stars go down, then they're in a lot of trouble. I did like the Andy Dalton backup move, but the problem is that they gave all this money to these offensive linemen. Normally a smart move. The offensive lineman can't stay healthy. Well, it doesn't matter who your quarterback is. It really doesn't matter. I love Patrick Mahomes. I love Russell Wilson. They wouldn't be doing anything on Dallas because they have a bunch of backups replacing high-priced players. It's kind of a shame, really, but Cowboys fans, as a general rule of thumb, have been really obnoxious. So it's kind of funny. And there's nobody. And by the way, if you're a Cowboys fan, you want to argue that, hey, more than welcome to. Maybe I'll get another thumb. I'm not watching YouTube, so I have no idea who's giving me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But do give me a thumbs up. So that's my case for Derrick Henry. Jerry needs to fire himself. And Dalton was supposed to play, was put on the COVID listing, the Cowboys' first COVID case. I actually didn't know that. I actually thought it was an injury that was keeping him off. I didn't know it was COVID related, to be perfectly honest. And my number 2 candidate for NFL MVP is a quarterback. 190 completions, 284 attempts, 66.9% completion percentage, 2,315 yards, 21 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Easily the best quarterback in the National Football League, bar none. But I might be a little biased because Patrick Mahomes plays on the Chiefs. But Patrick Mahomes is an MVP candidate. Last week, over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Just a great performance. And people are going to be like, yeah, it's the Jets. But I like what the Chiefs did. The Chiefs have said, hey, Jets have a weak secondary. Let's just throw the ball at the best quarterback in football. Here's the thing. I'm a Chiefs fan. So if I say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, that's one thing. But when you have national sports reporters saying that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, it's not even close, and that's something different. PTI, Mike Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser, and then they bring in, I'm drawing a blank. They call him Phil. I'm drawing a blank on his name. All of them have said that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. He is an MVP candidate, but I have him at the number 2 spot. Alex jumps in. Jerry is the reason why they lose, puts himself in teams' affairs too much. Hey, listen, I've always believed that if you're hearing noise, my neighbors I got some really cool neighbors upstairs, okay? They're really nice family. Hands down the noisiest neighbors I've ever had in my life. I don't know what the hell they do up there, but they're really super nice people. But if you hear noise, yeah, it's them. So, yeah, but I always thought that Jimmy Johnson was more responsible for the Cowboys dynasty in the 90s than Jerry Jones. And the reason why I believe this, or the reason why I think it works, is because if Jimmy Johnson leaves, they don't win. And don't give me that 95 Super Bowl with Barry Switzer. That was Jimmy Johnson's team, not that. But anyway. Yeah, exactly. Mahomes is incredible to watch, next generation of greatness. And it's kind of cool that even if you're not a Chiefs fan, you can appreciate the greatness of Patrick Mahomes and what he's doing. 21 touchdowns, 1 interception. The numbers that he's putting up is fantastic, but my NFL MVP candidate is putting up better numbers, and it's Russell Wilson. 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. You know what? I should have brought up his rushing stats. Let's take a look at his rushing stats. 35 carries, 260 yards, no touchdowns, but 260 yards on the ground in 7 games is really good. 26 touchdowns, leads the NFL in touchdowns. I mean, he's on pace for over 50 touchdowns. It's amazing what he's doing. Russell Wilson is hands down the NFL MVP, and that's kind of the reason why DK Metcalf will not win the NFL MVP because Russell Wilson's too much of it. So as much as I love Patrick Mahomes, obviously, the NFL MVP is Russell Wilson's to lose, and I think he's going to do a great job. Denver Gator puts in Jerry Jones is a billionaire playing live fantasy football. I can also argue the Washington football team, my mistake, Daniel Snyder's the same way. He was actually worse than Jerry Jones. I thought the smartest thing he did was hire Jimmy Johnson. And if you don't know the story, apparently here's the deal: they were sitting at a bar and they're having drinks, and they were both arguing who's more responsible, and they couldn't come. And then they said, "Okay, fine, we'll just." That's apparently how it broke up. So I've heard this many times, but I had a Dallas Cowboys fan tell me that. So, yeah. So guys, listen, I wanted to touch base on some different things, but I don't know if you can tell I'm losing my voice. I'm still not 100%. I'm going to let you know this right now. The game I already put action down. I only got one game. So far. And the game I got the Raiders plus 1.5. I got a full betting unit on it. And the reason why I got the game is because after watching the Chargers lose, I just think that they just feel dejected. I feel like they feel destroyed. So I don't see them really being able to bounce back. And the Raiders, I think, are a team that's going to make the playoffs. I really, really believe it. So, Alex says Jerry Jones thinks he's the reason he won the Super Bowls he's been trying. No, you're right. You're right. And I will always believe, and I don't have a dog in the fight either. I think it's more Jimmy Johnson bringing that team together, doing the coaching, making the trades. Of course, the Herschel Walker trade, one of the most brilliant moves of all time. By the way, if you're interested in Thursday night, it looks like the line is spiking up to Green Bay. I like the over, but it looks like it's been dropping. I'm going to go to my bookie real fast here before I'm going to wrap this up here in a few minutes. And I apologize. I'm losing my voice here. The over under on my bookie is 48.5. Since I started the show, it's gone from 5.5 to 7. So if you took the Packers, I know earlier in the week it was 5. I like the over on the game, but the over's been dropping. It's now 48.5. So would the Steelers trade first rounder 2022 for the boys Lighton Vander Esch, go for the throat in AFC? I'm going to say no, because they have Devin Bush, who missed. Okay, if you're not familiar, Devin Bush is playing lights out. Looked really, really good. He's out for the year. But when he comes back, they're going to build it around Devin Bush. And that's the direction the Steelers are going to go. And that's also the reason why I think the Steelers, that's the reason why Steelers made that trade for Williamson for this year. But they're not going to do the Van Der Esch trade. I think the Cowboys would actually go for it. And the reason why is because I think they would go for it. One, Van Der Esch has been injured. 2, I think that they're really kind of looking to 2021. So, Denver Gator, it's the most football content I've heard in a 45. We're almost going on 2 hours, and I meant to do a lot more. I meant to do some other things. I'm going to wrap it up, though. Here's the deal. Friday, I'm going to break down every single game. Every single game. And Alex brings up a really good one. If the Steelers would trade 2 first-rounders for Watt, the trade would hurt less. Broncos country. Let me before I do. Watt would not generate 2 first-rounders. And I know that you think he would, and I know you love Watt. I love Watt. But because he's over 30 and his best years are behind him, I actually think that what you'd be looking at would be at maximum 1, but could J.J. Watt become a Pittsburgh Steeler? It could happen. I think it would happen next year. I think it would happen in 2021, and then the Steelers would say, hey, look, we're going to bring Watt. We're going to bring Devin Bush back, and then they're going to go ahead and do some creative stuff in the draft. So, Broncos Country Live, the Bush trade in the draft. Yes, the Broncos, I actually thought won this trade, and the reason why is that because I think if you remember, what happened was Pittsburgh traded from 20 to 10 so they could draft Devin Bush. The thing is, though, is that Denver really liked Noah Fant and was going to take Noah Fant at 10. They ended up getting him at 20. So I think Denver won that trade. And Noah Fant, 2 or 3 years from now, is going to be the best tight end in football. He's really good. And so Denver, I'm a trooper, get better. Vaporizer and Vicks. Here's the deal. I'm on the up. I'm feeling better. It's just I'm just not there yet. I'm going to feel a lot better Friday. I'm going to sound a lot better. So keep my Friday's going to be a lot better than today. But guys, listen, thanks for all the love. Don't forget, give me a thumbs up. And hey man, they love to you for giving me a thumbs down too. I will see you guys Friday. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. Let me know if you put action on it. Don't forget, you can always shoot me an email. I will give me about 24 hours, but I do check my email on a daily basis. So theDANshow at Yahoo. Have a great night, and I'll see you guys on Friday.